This is the x88Pro X3. It's a little Android TV box that I picked up for relatively cheap. I talk about it on the air a lot, thought I'd show it off a little bit. Sits on top of my synthesizer, you'd never notice it, and it was pretty cheap, and I'm able to play some pretty cool games with it. Let's take a look. Alright, so here's the desktop. Now, more often than not, when I fire this thing up and I start playing games, what I typically end up playing, where is it at? Justice Chronicles. We'll take a quick look here. Camco, yay! Yeah, here we go. Fully controller compatible, old school JRPG action. I'm glad to see this old sprite-based JRPG style is still alive in the mobile market. .emu's R-Type. Yeah, here we go. This is what, $3 well spent? Oh dear, that didn't take long. We've also got I don't know if they still sell these, but they used to have these John's emulators. I guess you could still get the Game Boy one, but I got some of these on my phone that are no longer in the store. I did set up a Game Boy emulator. It doesn't get used much, to be perfectly honest. All I really ever do with it is on rare occasions I'll play Game and Watch Gallery. But again, this is perfectly controller compatible. It's a great couch game for just a few minutes. This particular emulator does have the soft controls on the top, and that does bother some people, but you can get, there are other emulators out there native to Android that don't have that. Atari 2600, this one I paid a couple of bucks for, and it was well worth it. One of the mistakes I made, oops, pressed the wrong button, is that I put the entire library of Atari on here, and that was a problem. You're supposed to only I go with a small handful of games. It's way better than having to wade through this big directory every time you want to play a game. But as you can see, when I load this up, we've got a little soft fast forward button on the upper left. But for the most part, we've got a nice clear screen, which is pretty fun. I like Atari. Powering through a couple of the others, I got similarly the Commodore 64 one that costs a couple of dollars set up. I haven't used that here, but I use that one on my phone quite a lot. And I tried a couple different PlayStation emulators. FPSE seems to run really well. I played some Tomb Raider 2 on it. D-Glass, for a long time this was the best way to play Doom on Android, and it is fully controller compatible, so it works here. I think there are better Doom ports that have come out since then, because it's a few years old. But that does work. I can take custom WADs from the internet, drop them on my little micro SD card there, and sit on the couch and play. This is worth checking out. This is down a little further. RetroArch. When I first set this up, I thought this was going to be like the be-all, end-all of emulators, because I have, RetroArch on Steam, and it runs very well. It's actually a big pain here, because it is very much a mobile port. The interface is awful. The way it detects controllers is even worse. And it's just like the fact that I'm like thumbing through the gamepad and it's actually functioning, most times that's not the case. So, I don't know. Hopefully it'll get better. There are some really good native Android games you can just get right off of Google Play that are a lot of fun. This is Pocket Rally. Pretty simple, but very functional, sweet little racing game that looks good. I mean, this looks a little cleaner than PS1. I'm trying to run it with one hand. But yeah, fully controller compatible. Good stuff. This is supposed to be Horizon Chase. Oh yeah, it loaded. This one, it's like a toss-up, because it does work technically, but it takes so long to fire up. Oftentimes I just bail. Like, I installed it to be like a simple, fun little racing game, and it's like, alright, I don't have, the 3 to 5 minutes just to wait for it to load. If I was going to do that, then I might as well just play PS3 or something, or PS1. That aside, though, pretty decent game. Again, this is a good example of how the native games are kind of a toss-up. Sometimes they're great, sometimes not. Of course, I got Super Nintendo hooked up, and it plays very well, too. Some of the lower-end Android devices, it's like a game-for-game toss-up. but the few things I've done with Super Nintendo and this machine have been spot on. In terms of actually watching things on this, it does function that way to an extent. What I'm watching the most right now is Peacock, because I bought into it for the wrestling, and it, of course, does not run on this version of Android, not even if you sideload it, which sucks. So as you can see, I've got Kodi here. I've been ripping my DVDs locally that I have hanging around and just getting them loaded up so I can watch shows that way. Of course, there's good old YouTube. That seems to function very well. This does support Netflix, but only a low quality version. I do have Netflix, but honestly I don't watch it that much, so that hasn't been an issue for me. Because if I'm watching something, it's going to be YouTube, it's going to be a local file, or it's going to be Peacock on another device. Yeah. Do I want to update it? Oh. Actually, I've read that if you try and update it, it will actually no longer function. Will it let me not update it? I haven't actually tried to run Netflix on this machine yet. It does seem to work. Yeah. This is the controller it came with. Feels super cheap, and it looks a little bit too much like the controller my TV came with. If you can see that, my young kids have a tough time telling these two apart. They're always asking me which one's the one they need. I do recommend getting one of these. I picked this up thinking it was going to use it all the time, like it was going to eclipse the TV remote. That didn't happen. I still use it when I'm going to set something up. Like I pulled it out just now so that I could get logged into Netflix, because typing anything with a controller like this, doesn't matter what kind of controller it is a big pain. So I have that to operate accounts and passwords and that sort of thing. And then over here, what I was playing with earlier, this is the 8BitDo Lite. I chose the Lite because I wanted something with D-pads. That's just a personal preference. Also, this does not have a dongle. So the machine has onboard Bluetooth, which works in this case. So it's synced up to the Android box for now. But when I want to use it for Steam, then I just cable it in to my PC. That way I can use it on either machine, and I don't have to actually unsync it with the Android box, which is really nice. It's a sweet controller. 8BitDo, or 8BitDo, I don't know, whatever you're supposed to say that. They do a good job with D-pads, which is something that it's very easy for these companies to mess up. So props to them. Highly recommend this controller. So that is the x88Pro. This is just that PS1 emulator running Bushido Blade. Is it going to rock your world? No, not at all. But it's a fun little box with an open platform. I've been able to put a few games on it, put a few shows on it, and if I go on vacation, all I got to do, take this little guy right there, throw it in a box, and away it goes, which is great, because sometimes it can be kind of hard to load all the equipment up. If you just want a tiny little box you can put on a secondary TV, or make a dumb TV like this into a smart TV. I haven't run it yet. I haven't had the need. Probably should test it at some point. But it does have on the back this little jack there. That is an AV out. Yeah, there it is. So if you want your tube TV to be low-end Netflix compatible, which, by the way, that mobile Netflix that doesn't run in a super high resolution, I'm guessing if you hooked it up to a TV like this, you would never know the difference. Never in a million years. So yeah, that's it. Get one or don't. I don't know. Whatever.